Welcome to episode 240 of the Fabulously Keto podcast. And today I'm talking with John Gray. I first heard John Gray share his health journey on a podcast interview with my friend Maggie Stewart, and I found it absolutely fascinating, especially hearing how he approached healing his early stage Parkinson's naturally. I knew I wanted to share that experience with you too, so I invited him on the show to talk about what he did and what he's learnt along the way. Here's John's bio. John Gray is the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. In hardcover, it was the #1 best-selling book of the 1990s. Dr. Gray's books are translated into approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries and continues to be a bestseller. Dr. Gray has written over 20 books. His most recent book is Beyond Mars and Venus. His Mars-Venus book series has forever changed the way men and women view their relationships. John helps men and women better understand and respect their differences in both personal and professional relationships. His approach combines specific communication techniques with healthy nutritional choices that create the brain and body chemistry for lasting health, happiness, and romance. His many books, blogs, and free online workshops at marsvenus.com provide practical insights to improve relationships at all stages of life and love. An advocate of health and optimal brain function, he also provides natural solutions for overcoming depression, anxiety, and stress to support increased energy, libido, hormonal balance, and better sleep. He has appeared repeatedly on Oprah, as well as on the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBC, This Morning, Good Morning America, and others. He's been profiled in Time, Forbes, USA Today, and People. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters. John Gray lives in Northern California, where for 34 years he happily shared his life with his beautiful wife Bonnie until her passing in 2018. They have 3 grown daughters and 5 grandchildren. He is an avid follower of his health and relationship advice. So let's go and hear from John. Welcome, Dr. John, to the Fabulously Keto podcast. It's fabulous to have you with us today.
I'm really happy to be with you.
I'm very excited for today. So I know that you're famous in the world of relationships and your books around helping people with their relationships. But I've invited you today because I'd love to talk to you about your health and the diagnosis that you got labeled with and how you went around healing it. So perhaps you could take us back, because I know it was a long time ago. Perhaps you could take us back to what happened, how you got the diagnosis, and how you started to heal yourself.
Well, about 25 years ago, I'm now 73, so I guess it was 22 years ago, around turning 50, I started having involuntary shaking of my head, and it was diagnosed as early stage Parkinson's, and that freaked me out. I am a very independent researcher. All my ideas are quite original, and people know I'm sort of always going against part of the current. When Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus came out, I'd been teaching those ideas for 10 years. And, with the whole idea that the narrative in the world, in the educated world, was going towards men and women are the same, and eventually emerging into what's now, which is gender doesn't exist. It's just a thought in your head. So, but this is a misguided direction as far as I'm concerned. And then you have the idea of feminism, which I'm all for. I'm all for female empowerment, but it needs to be done wisely. When women go away to their male side, they can often lose touch with their female side, and that creates problems. And So anyway, I've been a warrior, so to speak, for over 40 years, fighting this battle, even when Men Are From Mars was the biggest selling book in the world during the decade of the 90s. I mean, of all books, fiction, nonfiction, everything. It was huge. I was everywhere and traveling the world in 20 countries and all the big arenas and all the big places. That was a lot of stimulation. And what happens when you have a lot of stimulation, even though it was all positive, and from one perspective, it was all positive because I tend to focus on positivity. But ironically, during that time, I never received a positive print interview. All I was criticized, judged, fraud, fake. It was even bizarre things. I don't trust the media at all simply because of what they did to me. In one Newsweek, I was in every single magazine. I was on all the talk shows. Now, talk shows were different because it's person to person. And so they don't want confrontation on talk shows.
Yeah.
So I was a darling of the media, 18 Oprah shows, every national show. I could just call up anytime I was in town and they'd have me on. So it was very popular amongst some people. But in the written world, never, like New York Times never did a review of the book, even though it was the biggest over what is it, 5 years practically on their bestseller list. They never did a review on the book. So that was the idea is confrontation and success. Confrontation and success. The point I'm making here is that there was a lot of stimulation during that time, and when you stimulate, you get dopamine levels. Dopamine levels go very, very high, and whether it's success or whether it's fighting in the battle, PTSD, whatever it might be, consistent dopamine levels, and I might add to that, men who do porn, for example, are experiencing these super high dopamine levels, taking methamphetamines, taking Ritalin, what they're doing to our kids with ADD. All of these high stimulants produce dopamine to a higher level than normal. One of the symptoms of that, for example, for a man in his relationship with a woman, is women often go around and men want to get to the point. And that's
Mm.
okay as long as it's not too extreme. Whereas when men have this high dopamine, which produce ADD, then they don't have the patience, they don't have the tolerance. They wanna get to the point. They become bored right away if they don't have that dopamine hit. And now, we have our phones, which is constantly producing high dopamine levels.
Yeah.
Just to put your phone away for a day or 2, people start to miss it. I love a little bit of social media, but if I know how much I can tolerate in my own brain because if I don't if I if I like, "Oh, I gotta go look at my social media, the news." I'm really into the news, and if I don't go to the news, then I start feeling, "Oh, I'm missing out on something."
Uh,
That means it's too much, so I have to go on a fast. I'm really big into nutritional fasting, I'm very big into sex fasting, and I'm big into news, social media fasting.
Yeah.
For couples, if you want great sex, don't have sex every day. Uh you need to space time out when you look at the actual biology of men. Men who have sex once a week actually have 50% to 100% higher testosterone levels. Who knew?
Wow. Really? I didn't know
If
that.
you abstain from sex and you're a man for 6 days, on the seventh day, your testosterone increases 50% and stays there unless within 6 days, it goes down again. And then you have to rebuild it over 6, 7 days. So a lot of this has to do with the high dopamine stimulation of sex. Okay. It's a major dopamine stimulator. And so I'm getting to the point of what caused my Parkinson's, early
Yeah.
stage Parkinson's. When you have repeated high stimulation, it desensitizes receptor sites, dopamine receptor sites in the brain. And if you do it over a long period of time, not only they close down, but they start to disappear. And that's serious Parkinson's. Now, I caught it in the beginning where only some of my dopamine receptor sites were dying, so to speak. They were already closed, and I had to help support them coming back online. So this is not a familiar concept to all people, so I need to explain it a little bit more. If you
Okay.
think about a bright sunlight, that's high stimulation to the eyes.
Yeah.
What do the pupils do? They close.
Yeah.
Now, if you have the pupils closed from being out in bright light and you come into a room that's moderately lit, it will seem very dark.
Yes.
And then with over a period of time, your pupils will open up, and then suddenly this room that seemed dark will be light again. It's the same thing with sugar. If
Mm,
you eat sugar, it's big dopamine receptor sites, then your vegetables don't taste so good. Literally, your receptor sites close down and life is a little dark. Life is boring. Life is flat. Life is distress. Life is anxiety. Life is depression. All these negative symptoms all have to do with inhibited dopamine function. Okay,
right.
so it's inhibited dopamine function. So normal dopamine function looks like for me is I can be working hard, I have motivation, I have energy. I can then relax and rest. I don't have to depend on social media to stimulate me. I can spend time with my kids. I can spend time with my wife. This is the room doesn't have to always be uh, dark, and then you have to seek high stimulation. Your dopamine receptor sites naturally kind of go up and down like this. Some things are more exciting. And the idea is it's not like you can't have exciting things. You can't do your social media. You can't do your porn. Although I recommend, how about making love with a real person?
Yeah.
If you space it out, and this all has to do with, again, for males, is the all I can look at is the research that shows that spacing out 6 days when it comes to making love, your testosterone levels double. We don't really have research on people who do regular porn, other than to know that their testosterone levels never recover, and they go down every year about 1 to 2%.
Mm,
So
because they're
I would
constantly
just,
stimulated.
yeah, just too much stimulation. It's just going to cause Parkinson's. Earlier stage would be, and I can't say just Parkinson's, could be dementia, could be Alzheimer's. All these dire predictions are happening today due to our high stimulation. We all have our own unique physiology. But long before you get to that inhibited dopamine function, what you have is addiction.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what all addiction is you're seeking dopamine stimulation because normal stimulation is boring. Think the receptor sites are closing down over time. And the first stage of that is often defined as ADD, attention deficit disorder. That would be what this condition is that we see happening to, I think, double the amount of boys, but also girls have it. It just shows up differently. For women, it shows up as too much information and they feel overwhelmed. And the way their body approaches that is a different set of hormones causes them to feel a pressure to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this.
Yeah.
They also have a more expanded perspective of caring what people think, often people pleaser.
Yeah.
Now, anytime I make a statement like that, it's very biologically based. And then there's always the opposite. So I want people to know that because if you're a people pleaser and you can't please anybody, then you give up.
Yeah.
It's a so, there's always a flip side to everything, so keep that in mind, but generally speaking, when it comes to women, they tend to be more people pleasing. You can even see now the way they vote, huge differences in the way women vote versus men vote. We've become
Mhm.
so polarized as a society, but we can basically focus on simplicity is something I see very universal for almost most women I come in contact with, and research apply it shows this is women have a tendency when they're experiencing stress. That's one way of looking at it, but I'm looking at it in terms of ADD. ADD is always coming from a place of low dopamine function. So that's what it is. That's a stress state. And for women, they experience it as a sense of overwhelm, too much to do, not enough time. And unfortunately for women, that shows up as not enough money. You could have the same amount of money, but one woman goes, "Hey, I'm happy with this amount of money." A woman with ADD "But it's not enough. My husband's not enough. Yeah, he washed the dishes, but he doesn't do a good job." Or he forgot to do the soap, or he forgot to refill the soap. With littlest things, a woman could it's just not enough. That feeling of not enough is inhibited dopamine function, female ADD. For men, it's it's procrastination for males. It's not enough stimulation for me to take action.
Mm.
Okay, so it's a more for men, their testosterone levels are 10 times higher than women, sometimes 20 times higher. Otherwise, they're stressed. And it's all about action oriented. Testosterone is about solving problems, fixing things, earning money, figuring out solutions. And for women, it's more about opening her heart, enjoying her life, feeling love, feeling appreciation. It's nurturing, it's helping. These are more of our female side. And as I say that, keep in mind, everybody listening, that every woman has a male side, every man has a female side. So let's
Yeah.
just keep that in mind. And if a man's way on his female side, he'll relate to a lot of examples, I'll say, of women. And if a woman's far on her male side, she goes, "Well, that's me." Even when Men Are From Mars came out, many women would proudly say to me, "Well, I feel like I'm from Mars." And very rarely did men say, "Well, I feel like I'm from Venus." It's like an insult to him. but
Yeah.
but the
Probably
women,
nowadays there's more.
well, it's less of an insult today. More men
Yeah.
are just embracing that. But in those days, men were still rather on their male side. And so they never said, "I'm from Venus," but their wives would tell me, "Oh, you're talking about my husband here." And that's something called role reversal. And role reversal, emotional role reversal, meaning men will take on the traits of low testosterone and high estrogen, and women will take on the traits of low estrogen and high testosterone. And if the right balance is there, then you're happy and you're fulfilled and you're stress free. But what we see today is so many people are stressed, particularly for women. I'll say for women, they need to make 10 to 20 times more estrogen than men. And they also need to make way more progesterone in the luteal cycle, which is after ovulation, as she's going towards her period. Women need to make more progesterone than estrogen,
Yeah.
but they still need a lot of estrogen. So one of the ways women can make estrogen, if they're not, let's say a woman's making focusing on things that produce testosterone. And nothing wrong with making testosterone, okay? So it gives you motivation, it gives you confidence, solving problems, you're efficient, you're competent. So you're in the world of solving problems. While you're doing that, you're not making estrogen as much. See, what makes estrogen is relationship where you feel I can depend on someone for help. So independence is your male side. Relationship, where I depend on someone for help, is your female side.
Yeah.
So what we see is if you go to a doctor, for example, your estrogen goes up. People listening to your podcast, if they feel it's important information for them to help their health and their happiness, meaningful to them, their estrogen will go up. When you go to a therapist or coach, your estrogen goes up. All the women that have come to me over the years have said, "I just turned a corner to park my car and I start feeling better just coming to see you." And then I start to cry. My feelings all come up because one of the biggest things about feeling safe for women is when they don't feel safe from the point of view of they can express their feelings. That's a big oxytocin producer, which raises estrogen, which lowers her stress.
Yeah.
So we see women need to make oxytocin and estrogen to lower their stress. Men need to make testosterone to lower their stress.
Oh,
Men need
yeah.
to make 10 times more. Women need to make 10 times to 20 times more estrogen. Well, they need 10 times more estrogen in a man just to have well being. And then to feel romantic feelings, they need to double. Her estrogen levels have to double. So, I mean, we are, interrelated. And so when a woman is depending on someone for something of value, her estrogen goes up, and that's the most important hormone as she's going towards ovulation. Now, let's say she doesn't have someone she can depend on. She doesn't get to listen to your podcast. She doesn't have friends she can depend on, people she helps who help her. So there has to be this reciprocal thing going on. Uh, if she doesn't have that, I'm getting to the point here, then she will eat.
Yeah.
Only thing that will make estrogen, if she doesn't have social behavior producing
Interesting.
estrogen,
Yeah.
is eating and fat. Fat will stay on her body because the brain then needs fat to convert into estrogen. So if her behavior is not stimulating estrogen from her from her ovaries, then she will seek food. And I know you talk a lot about food
Yeah.
and talk about health and so forth. You want to be able to eat healthy food. And if you have ADD and you're a woman, then it's very challenging to stay away from the sugar because that's going to produce the dopamine. Whenever you're feeling down or wanting to overeat, it's because your estrogen levels are too low. You're seeking food. You're depending on food too much. And if you have ADD in your woman, and you're stressed, which will show up as overwhelm, there'll be a strong desire to have sugar. And I know you help people understand that not to eat sugar. Uh,
That
so
makes sense. That really makes
yeah,
sense. So do you think that this is what's happening in menopause with women?
well, now here's the problem with menopause, and I will get back to my condition,
Okay.
but it's all Parkinson's is inhibited dopamine function basically to the nth degree. So I'm talking about it all the time, but I want to be relevant to everybody here. I used to help people with actually Parkinson's. I'll just get this off the table now, which is Dr. Hinz, Hinz, is a medical doctor who has 200 doctors in America who teach his ideas and the natural supplements that help with Parkinson's. Now he says that he can't reverse it in everybody, he can stop it and sometimes get reversals, but nobody goes to him in the early stages of Parkinson's. And also my solution maybe is a little better than his. His is very similar. He came up with something similar to what I came up with, and I can talk more about that, but I'll just do it from the point of view of everybody. We're all ADD,
Yeah.
I don't women are we're stressed.
We're,
So,
yeah,
we have this
totally
inhibited
overwhelmed, all the time.
yeah, so that's this tendency, and so you're always fighting against that in terms of trying to control your diet. Of course, the best thing is to stay away from addictions, and it's hard to stay away from addictions if you don't process your dopamine problem. Now, for me, my dopamine problem showed up because it was extended a long period of time at a very high level. I realized the symptoms of Parkinson's for me were shaking head, if I focus when I'm watching TV or in a movie, my wife would say, "John, your head's shaking." And what that means is, and I analyzed it, it was real simple, although it's a simple analysis. I'm a simple guy, and solutions have to be simple. So dopamine function is what controls your muscles. So when you're using your brain to focus, now you're using your dopamine to focus. I didn't have enough dopamine function to keep my muscles from shaking. You see how that is? So
Yeah.
and that was my mind. So I said, okay, I need to figure out what other things cause shaking and besides Parkinson's, because they only think take a drug and the drug only takes away symptoms and makes the condition worse and worse over time, as opposed to a natural solution. So here I am, I'm looking at all this, and it became very common sense because I was helping people as well who are alcoholics and drug addicts. That was part of my past, helping people. I wasn't taking them, but helping people and studying it and so forth. And when people would go off of a heavy drug, which is a heavy duty inhibited dopamine function addiction, to go off of it, they would experience despair and unhappiness and sleeplessness, but they'd also shake. Okay,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
body would shake. So I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's inhibited dopamine function." That's how I was developing these ideas. So then I researched who it does natural solutions. This is back 25 years ago, 22 years ago, I guess. And I found a guy in Mexico because all the good treatments then, and maybe still today, are all in Mexico because they're illegal in America.
Yeah.
America, they just put it, anything will work, illegal.
Yeah.
Which,
I
by the
think it's
way,
the
just
same
is
here. Yeah.
another thing. They all want to make, what is it? Nicotine illegal. Soon they get rid of the vapors and everything, and people can do searches on nicotine for brain function. So that besides the other solutions I have, I didn't have it then, which is nicotine also helps improve inhibited dopamine function.
Oh, I didn't know
Also
that.
frees you from the symptoms of long COVID and those various things. You can look up with the research. Nicotine is just an amazing nicotine patches is what I do. A lot of people take the gum and whatever's too strong for me.
Yeah, it
I
makes
think
me
it's people who yeah.
I've
Oh, so
got
you
my
got the
nicotine gum, but
oh,
it makes me dizzy. I feel really lightheaded.
yeah, but but that's good because people who can actually do it without feeling dizzy, that means they have more of an addiction. So the fact that you're more free of addiction, taking the gum is not gonna be so intense. I can't take any except patches. A 7 milligram patch, 24-hour release is you won't get dizzy, and you'll
Did
get the same benefits.
So I'm gonna interrupt you there. Have you found a clean one that's not full of pharmaceuticals?
I know what people have told me, but I can't say from my own experience
No.
of the clean one.
Okay.
Uh, so just to know that's the case. Um, I really only speak from what I know, and so I just can't know. But what I do know is that after COVID, for example, it's supposed to help you take away symptoms of long COVID.
Yeah.
I had a chronic infection in my nose just didn't go away for like 3 months or something, and then I heard about this nicotine thing, and I put the patches on. I didn't notice anything because it wasn't a high dose. It was 7 milligrams and time release. If you just took 7 milligrams chewing it, it would be way too much, but it's a
Yeah.
time release.
Yeah.
And but anyway, the point is, after 9 days, my nose completely cleared up, and the symptom went away from me, and I've helped some of my friends with it as well. I've heard that lots of people get benefit from it.
Oh, I've
So,
heard it too.
coming so, anyway, so we come back to so that will also help with the ADD, the inhibited dopamine function. So, over here, I found this guy, and his name was Dr. Hitt. He's passed on now. He was in his 90s then, one of these alternative, brilliant guys. I sat in a room with 9 people, and there was a cocaine addict, there was an OxyContin addict, there was a heroin addict, there was a smoker addict, there was a sugar addict, there was all these different addicts were there. And they asked me, "What's your addict?" "Well, I'm got Parkinson." No, everybody laughed. "Yeah, denial." That was a common thing. Like, "You don't have an addiction?" "Sure." But I sat with all of them for a week, and the treatment was like 4 or 5 hours of an amino acid drip, which was, uh, amino acids, combine together to do a lot of things in your body. Everything in your body is made out of amino acids, and these amino acids are broken down by peptides. You take out the amino acids of the proteins that you eat, and your body then makes it into all the different functions, all the
Yeah.
enzymes, everything's made out of the amino acids. And you can just take amino acids, and that's Dr. Hens's program, is that he actually gives you, for Parkinson's, he gives you 50 milligrams of tyrosine, he gives you 500 milligrams of 5-HTP, he gives you, oh, I don't want to do his whole protocol, too much information, but if people do HINZ on PubMed, his protocol is right there, both for ADD and for Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So I sat in this room with these people and nobody had withdrawal symptoms. That's the point. I mean, people just knew this. You could go off of so many people have these drug addictions and it's just too hard to go off of them, not because just the willpower, but it's also the suffering, huge suffering people go through. And so I watched everybody go through their addictions with no suffering. We all just felt tired. We talked, we told stories, and we felt tired. That was it. And that would be such a great breakthrough for people. I remember once approached the Parkinson's Center in Vegas and I said, "Look, I got this protocol here. Dr. Hens has a protocol. If you want more medical, I have all natural." And they said, "We don't want that. It has to be patented to pay for this $500 million research center."
Yeah, absolutely.
This is like the world we're up against. It's too sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, we make our way through it using our logic and our intelligence and what's available out there. So I saw that my symptoms went away for 3 months and then they came back. Then I went back and did the treatment again. And they came back and I asked him, I said, does this happen to everybody? He said, generally people will come back with their addictions because one is you have to have a lifestyle that supports you. These people don't.
Yeah.
But also the treatment didn't last. So I wanted to create my own 10,000 it was a $10,000 treatment. So without having to pay $10,000 for a week treatment, I figured, what can I do? And have to not have to go to Mexico. And I just realized that he shared with me what was in the IV drip, and it was basically just the same thing Dr. Hens is doing. He's putting in all of your amino acids in the right balance. Glutathione, that's another thing in Dr. Hens. There's a lot of really good companies out there that sell good glutathione products.
Yeah.
NAC and very high doses, cysteine, 4,000 milligrams is what Dr. Hens had. All of those ingredients, by the way, are in milk products.
Milk.
That's all I did, is that I just, uh, took the problem with milk itself, even if it's raw milk, cow milk has 90% casein, and that's because 'cause they're big animals. Casein produces muscles. We're not big animals like that. So what I did is said, "Look, how much casein is in mother's milk?" And I put that much casein in the product and that much whey protein. So now you get a balance of it. Why we can't deal with milk is it's just not the right balance of casein, which takes longer to digest, which is
Yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
in your system, and whey protein in an hour is gone, but it produces a lot of serotonin in the brain. So these are like magic fuels. This is what, my little 2-year-old granddaughter, just primarily milk, okay, and some food, but milk is Nature gives it
It's
to us,
yeah, it's
but not cow milk. But what you can do is take cow milk, grass-fed, cold processed. If it's heat processed, then what happens is that you lose a lot of the liveness. If I mean, it's terrible. You know, the stuff you buy in the store, which can just sit on the shelves without being refrigerated, it's because they use such high heat. Everything is dead, so nothing can go bad. It's already just dead.
yeah,
So anyway, so what I did is created a formula of whey protein and casein, about 50-50, and then put and all the precursors for glutathione are in there. All of your amino acids are in there, everything.
yeah,
So why, if first of all, why can't we get them all? Well, one of the reasons we can't get them all is because if you have any health condition, your body is stressed. And if you're stressed, your enzymes are not being produced. If you're stressed, if you have inhibited dopamine function, you're clearly not digesting your food. So any of these
mm,
symptoms I've been talking about means your digestion is not functioning work. So it's good to take digestive enzymes for sure.
yeah,
What I did in the shake is added 5 particular enzymes which help to break down protein. And there was a Nobel Prize that discovered those protease. And so you have these enzymes that break down the protein. Now, once you have that, you put it in warm water because what I wanted to do is create a mix that would actually have pre-digested proteins, which is what I was getting in that IV drip. They're
yeah,
all pre-digested proteins, amino acids. So when you eat a steak, for example, or if you have beans and whatever, if you have vegetarian proteins, generally you're getting about, let's say you're getting 20 grams of protein, you're only getting the amino acids of about 10% of that.
10%. Oh, I thought it was about half.
10%
Yeah,
with beans,
yeah,
and then when you get up to steak, eggs, you're getting around 20%, and steak is the best if you're eat steak, it's 30% of the amino acids, but you
yeah,
gotta be stress-free to get that. It's like you gotta digest these things. So anyway, it turns out that this formula I put together was tested in a Swiss lab, and you find out that if you put the shake in the warm water for 45 minutes, it bubbles, it digests itself. Just put it has to be 101 temperature, 105, a little bit over 100 degrees. That's the body temperature, enough warmth to activate the enzymes to digest the proteins, and you put it out on the shelf. And for 45 minutes, it actually almost turns to half of it foam. Okay, it just foams up and it just goes straight to your brain. Now, I take it every day. I still take it after all this. And if I when I travel, I don't mess with it. I'm a healthy guy, and so but when you travel, you can't get good food and whatever, and you're busy. So when I come home from a trip and I have my shake, it feels like my head just evaporates, I just go right out. I notice the difference right away. And then after a few weeks, I don't notice anything because I'm in an optimal state. This year I've written 3 books already since January. So
wow.
my brain works really well. Although it wasn't working really well. And
Yeah,
I take other supplements as well. But for the dopamine function, that's my main thing. And I'll go for periods of time just doing my shake and one mineral supplement. The other mineral supplement, which is super important for dopamine function, is lithium. Now, I know you're in England, so people can't get it. If you can get it, lithium orotate is fantastic. It is uh, a, a supplement that the drug companies won't let anybody get. In America, the only place you can get it legally is America. In England, you can have it, you just can't sell it. I think in Germany, they used to sell it. But anyway, it's lithium is to understand a little bit about lithium. In my experience, there's a lot of research being done on lithium, has been done. And if you were to do a search on lithium, what you'd see is that it's dangerous. You shouldn't take it. Your doctor, you have to have your blood tested all the time because they're constantly measuring what psychiatrists would give for bipolar. They would give you lithium carbonate. They didn't have lithium orotate. It was a German doctor, Dr. Nieper, discovered lithium orotate. What Nieper did is cured everything, in his opinion, with minerals bonded to delivery agents that could bring them into the brain.
yeah,
Most of our supplements do not get into the brain. The minerals have to be in your food. And by the way, the best food for this is beets. Beets is a good, and also tobacco. We're back to nicotine.
Yeah.
Tobacco also has the highest amount of lithium next to beets. Uh, s- and they made what they did with tobacco is they made tobacco addictive by putting all,
Look.
500 other ingredients in it, making it toxic, making it bad for you. But if you just have the tobacco itself, not bad for you. I'm not
Yeah.
a smoker though, but I just know if I'm looking for lithium, it's the peace pipe, it gives you peace. It beats if you go to Russia, cold, not enough sun, a lot of depression. People realize that borscht soup, beets with beef in it, was fantastic for brain function. Light brightens up your day is lithium. Because what lithium does is it keeps your dopamine from going too high. Okay, so addictions are not so appealing to you. They don't give you that high buzz, and it balances dopamine and serotonin in the brain. Another thing, by the way, for couples who are married, one of the pluses of marriage is there's another hormone in your body that is associated with lithium, and that is called prolactin. Prolactin is produced when women are breastfeeding. So
Yeah.
women who breastfeed know the sort of positive state you're in when you're doing that, as long as you're not being hurt. Uh, it can happen. Uh, but prolactin increases 400% in couples who are in monogamous sexual relationships.
Mm.
Okay, so if you're not monogamous, if you just go out and have sex, your prolactin just drops. So that's the value
So it's
of
the
the
love,
intuitive.
sort of the love hormone, like the
Yeah, the
oxytocin
love
as well.
hormone and
Yeah.
the commitment. It's not just love hormone. You'll have oxytocin if you just have sex, but it will just drop. When you have prolactin, it sustains and it balances dopamine and serotonin. It's like your natural form of lithium through being in a committed long-term relationship. And it grows over time as you have that commitment to one person. And this has all been tested. They tested married couples and their prolactin goes up 400% and stays for a while. It can go down if you're stressed, but if you're not stressed, it will stay up. And
Yeah.
so, replenish it with making love is a great, great thing. That's when it hits the 400% level. So my prolactin's 400% higher. I'm monogamous, I have great sex, but it doesn't mean you have to have sex all the time. As I mentioned, this fasting from sex, if sex loses its excitement, just fast for a week. The same thing for if food loses its attraction, fast. Fasting is so good. I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in that, but not a week for everybody. So anyway, back to we covered so many things here. We're coming to the product of taking the protein in warm water, it then digests itself. Oh, then I was moving on to lithium. And I was explaining beets are really good for that. Tobacco is really good for that. And now you have lithium orotate. Now, lithium orotate is a delivery system of a very tiny bit of lithium. A psychiatrist will give you 5 to 10 milligrams of lithium orotate. Now, it will be like 1,000 milligrams, but how much lithium's in it is only 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams. And uh, most people don't need 10, but if you have ups and downs, you'll notice it in 3 days, maybe even right away. It's amazing what lithium will do if it's in a form that will cross the blood-brain barrier. What psychiatrists did is they didn't have Dr. Nieper explaining you need a delivery system of auroric acid, which, by the way, auroric acid, I don't know why I'm not saying it right, but it's in mother's milk. It's all in mother's milk.
Yeah.
So, or orotate. So lithium orotate is the delivery system. So you're only taking 5 milligrams, tiny, tiny bit. Whereas what psychiatrists would give you is 50 times that, 100 times that, 500 times that. And so imagine taking any substance that your body needs 500 times the dose. It's toxic.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's never been any side effect ever of taking lithium orotate. I've searched the internet, everything. The only one case was a woman who ate the whole bottle and
Oh,
she
yeah.
went to the hospital and all she had was a stomach ache. Okay. We're talking too much auric acid, not too much lithium. And I've tried to get it into Whole Foods and it's quite legal in America. You can get it online. But the Whole Foods, I know the owner of Whole Foods. He's in my men's group. So, so he says, I can't get it in. They won't let me put it in. I said, why? It's on the internet. And he says, because this is the whole logic that the propaganda of of our country, of the drug companies that run everything in our country. The they say that, yes, it does work. It does make you feel really good. And since it works, people think it will work better if you drink the whole bottle. I
That
mean, do
makes sense.
people do that with anything that makes you feel good? But, oh, just they wanna keep lithium orotate out of your hands. In my belief, in my opinion, you would never need antidepressants, okay? If people could have a good digestion, good protein, and good mineral supplementation. And I also take other minerals, but I have a lot of minerals and a lot of adaptogens in my own product, but I'm just speaking generally about lithium orotate because it is the magic. It's the thing that balances the dopamine, keeps your dopamine from going too high. Same thing with prolactin. It keeps your dopamine from going too high. It balances with dopamine and serotonin, freeing us from these addictive cravings. So this is like really key to help with everybody trying to eat a good diet, a good lithium, get your proteins in there. Then your body's not hungry all the time. If you're not getting your amino acids, your body's just hungry.
Yeah.
So having said that, I think I explained it. I explained the minerals. I explained for what I did was simply just taking this shake every day. And I'm mentioning that after a while, I don't notice much because I'm pretty optimal functioning. However, if I stop doing it for a while, and I consciously do stop taking things to see if I need to take them anymore, I immediately start noticing. I mean, I travel for a week, say, and I don't have my shakes. When I come home and I take the shakes, I just notice how good I feel. So
Yeah.
this is the program that I was recommending for people.
And so with the lithium orotate, would you recommend that for everyone?
Everybody should be taking it. And
Okay.
why should we be taking it? Because we eat sugar and we're stressed. Anytime you experience high excitement or low stress, okay, you can be upset or excitement. The Chinese, they'll talk about stressful emotions. They'll put positive emotions in the excitement is considered a stressful emotion.
Yeah.
It's just, but what it does is it stimulate high dopamine stimulation depletes you of lithium. So why is this? Because what lithium does, it's a mineral, it has a function, and the way minerals work is they're used and then they're gone. They're used and they're gone.
Yeah.
Okay. They're used and they're gone. It doesn't repeat in your body, it just goes out. So if you're having excitement or stress, you're having high dopamine levels. So to regulate that dopamine, your body's always using up your lithium. Always using up your lithium. So we just live in an exciting, stressful world, big ups. Dopamine is everywhere. This phone is here. So to help us modulate ourselves, I think it's a really good basics. Vitamin C is a real good thing to be having. If you're having lots of beets and you're able to digest it, that would probably be a good enough source. I don't know. Uh, I know for me, with the high stress life I live, it's ironically, when I say high stress, I don't want to imply that I'm not happy because I'm really happy. Like I spent all since 6 o'clock this morning writing a book, and I'm in a bit of a euphoric state. I'm just so excited by the ideas coming through me. But
Yeah.
that does produce a lot of dopamine. Okay.
Yes.
And then that can deplete you of the lithium that helps balance dopamine and serotonin.
Yeah.
And mother's milk or cow's milk, when balanced properly, has all of the amino acids necessary to produce dopamine and serotonin in the brain.
Mm.
It's not like this is a super antidepressant in the sense that take it and you'll feel good. You still have to have a life. But it gives you the foundation to have a life. If I just, and this is true, I have a book deadline I'm on. And if I don't write every day to achieve that book deadline, except one day a week. If I don't, like today, if I just took the day off and didn't have this with you and didn't go back and write, but just sat and watched TV, watched the news, which I
That,
get addicted
that's
to, or
depressing.
I would become depressed. I would
Yeah.
just, my body would never feel comfortable. And the irony is when you're not following your divine purpose, your energy is blocked and you feel stressed. And what can relieve you of that pressure is to go do some addiction.
Yeah.
So you see, the addiction gives you relief, but causes the problem, gives you the release and causes the problem. It's like, oh, looking at my phone gives me the relief, put it down. Now I've got the problem. I feel uncomfortable. Oh, I got to have my relief. It's like one potato chip, another potato chip, another potato chip. Dopamine goes up, goes down. So that craving to try to give our lives, so many people, these are great things to help, but you can't just sit in a room and watch TV and expect it to really work for you.
No, but do you think for somebody who's very depressed, do you think incorporating the lithium orotate would get to them to a point where they can start to think bigger and do
Oh,
other things.
absolutely, absolutely. That's the great thing about it. And people who have emotional ups and downs, okay, they tell me they notice it tremendously. Now, I don't notice anything anymore. I did in the beginning, and if I go off of it for, a
Yeah,
trip, I'll notice it right away. But once you're normal, people don't notice normal. I mean, I've had like pain in my body, and then my wife says, "How's your pain in your neck?" Oh, it went away. But
yeah,
I don't note it. When the pain goes away, quite often, we don't notice it. If the pain has been chronic, then we do notice it. I mean, there is a big release. But once you're, not in the chronic negative place, you often don't notice when it's
no.
starting to slowly drift away.
When you feel good, you just feel good and you
That's
forget.
right. It
You
just seems
forget how
normal.
you were. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think about it. You don't think about it. Here's a fun example of that, which is I was driving around my town with one of my daughters. I have three daughters. And she said to me, "Daddy, why do we always have red lights?" I said, "Well, let's count the lights. Let's drive around town. Let's drive, see how many green lights we get, how many red lights we got. We got way more green lights than red lights. But because you're sitting at a light for a long time and you're suffering, you remember that. And the brain has a bias towards looking at negativity. That's just what it is. Whenever you're stressed, what happens is the blood flow, it's a little different for men and women, but if you're chronically stressed, it happens for both men and women. If you're chronically stressed, blood flow goes to your right prefrontal cortex that just is pessimistic. Life is not enough, not enough. If you're feeling no stress, blood flow goes to both sides. You see, not enough, but here's the solution. Not enough, here's the solution.
Yeah.
So if you're at moderately stressed and you're a man, ironically, this is what moderate stress does for men. It actually increases blood flow to the left prefrontal cortex, which makes him optimistic. That's why a woman says to a man, "Let's talk." Immediately, he has moderate stress. He starts out with, "Oh, I'll give you a solution. I know just what to do. You could do this and this." And all it takes from her to just continue having problems, immediately it shifts to a higher level of stress. And now he thinks, "Oh my gosh, where's she going with this? There's no solution. No, nothing I say ever worked. She doesn't love me. She
Yeah.
didn't appreciate me."
Or
Men
she
don't say
doesn't.
she doesn't. I'm having so much fun because I probably know more about men and women than anybody in the world. And but particularly I know the science behind it. Having spent 25 years watching the science grow, I've got 3 new books coming out on the science of brain differences, hormone differences, communication differences. One of them is How to Talk So a Man Will Listen, and another one is How to Be Happy With or Without a Man.
uh,
'Cause, the people who are not with a man, women who are not with a man, they often feel like, "Just had a relationship," or they feel like, "I just can't have a relationship with a man." And many women are, like, in a relationship with a man, but they're focusing on the 10% that's not good, even when the 90% is there. This is what happens as soon as we have a stress when we live in chronic stress, the brain will focus only on the negative and it can't see the positive.
Yeah.
And men as well, we have I mentioned in the beginning, our ADD thing is we need 10 times more stimulation to motivate us. So what we
Yeah.
do is we wait to the last minute. Women are saying, "Why does my husband always wait to the last minute for
Uh,
everything?" He doesn't think about it till he has to. Well, when you have something you have to do, that's danger. If I don't do it now, I'm really in trouble. So he waits to the last minute. Even when I'm saying to me as a man, part of what I keeps me going is I set deadlines for myself. Now, it's not so much a deadline because 'cause I'm free, I can take as much time as I want, really, but I set a goal that makes me feel good,
yeah.
and so men have to have a goal. So, one of the elements in my book, which is Talk So Man Will Listen, is talk about your day, not about him. Talk about your day, not about the relationship, and you'll see the relationship will get better, okay? You'll see. Just
Yeah.
don't ever talk about him. Don't talk about him. Don't talk about the relationship, and create a pattern of talking every day if you want. So you don't have to let it build up where you need to talk for 20, 30 minutes or an hour, which women can do. I mean, they can go on and on and on. Men just don't know how you do that. And one of the reasons for that is we interrupt as men,
Yeah. Because
which
you
is
want to find a solution. You want to
they
solve
want to
the
find a
problem.
solution.
And the
So you
women
just
just
say,
want to talk.
yeah. So what you say is just say, I call it Venus talk. All you have to do now is I'm going to talk for 10 minutes. Now that's his goal. See, once he has a goal, this is only going to last 10 minutes. His testosterone will stay up the whole time. It's
Yeah.
an amazing. And then gradually he can do a little bit longer, a little bit longer. It's like sex, Men can only go for so long, and they're done for most men. Anyway, so you give them a goal, 10 minutes. You don't have to say anything. Please don't say anything. Don't fix anything, but understand that all I need to do is talk about these things and then I'll feel better. I'm not looking for solutions right now. Later, if I need help with solutions, I'll ask you. We'll have a Mars Venus conversation, which I can ask for help. You can ask me for help, back and forth, normal conversation. But what I see is that women sort of blend the two together, which is let me talk about my feelings about the day. Plus, I want to look for some solutions here, or I'm just talking things through. So I have all these sections of how to identify to a man what job are we fixing the plumbing? Are we painting the house? Or what exactly are we doing in this conversation?
Yeah, they
Because
need
men
to
are going
know.
to do one thing. As soon as they hear emotions or feelings in the tone of your voice, he's gonna wanna fix it, he's gonna solve it, it's like a project to fix, and she really needs to be heard a lot more, and once men understand and women can tell men this, I've written this book just for women so that they're not dependent on a man even reading it. Women have the power, they just need to communicate him, "I this is 10 minutes, you don't have to fix anything, you don't have to solve anything. Actually, if you stay silent the whole time, I will just give me a hug when I'm done." And you don't have to even say, "That's too bad," or "That's awful." You don't have
Yeah.
to do active listening. All this stuff just puts a burden on men and, women who wanna say, "Oh, but he should do active listening." That's the big thing today, active listening. No. The research actually shows that couples who are taught active listening and counseling never do it at home. So here you've got this unhappy wife thinking my husband doesn't doesn't do what he was told to do. But couples don't do it. And you just have to look at the research, it's trying to make a man into something different than what he is. And one of the reasons men don't do it, active listening for women, is because we'll do it and she'll say, not good enough.
Yeah, yeah, very
So
true.
it's all a matter of changing the hormones. If a woman can talk for 10 minutes and bring in emotion to her conversation, it literally lights up a different part of a man's brain than when women talk to each other. We're so different if people understood the biology. When two women talk, primarily the limbic system of the brain, that's the emotional part of the brain, lights up. When a woman experiences moderate stress, she has 5 to 8 times more increase of blood flow to the limbic system than normally when she's not stressed. Just a little stress. Suddenly 8 times more blood flow to the emotional brain. When a man has a little stress, no blood flow to the emotional brain. None.
Yeah.
And of course, that's moderate stress for a man. He disconnects from emotions, but he's not indifferent. He's detached, but he's not indifferent. So if she asks for his help, but doesn't ask him to talk, then what happens is 3 parts of his brain light up that don't light up in women. A little bit of his limbic system will light up, not like a woman's, to empathize. But then the prefrontal cortex lights up in an optimistic way to analyze what she's saying. And if you ask him not to say anything, then he's left with the back part of his brain, which is motivation, which is he wants to help you. And you tell him how you can help us not talk. But the sum of all those 3 things together for a man is different from empathy. It's compassion. Compassion is, in Tibetan Buddhism, they always talk about that's the masculine divine is compassion. The feminine divine is wisdom. And the wisdom for women is to know what you can change and know what you can't change. Have the
And
courage to change what you can and know how to do it.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I think women have all the wisdom, but when they don't understand that men are different, they get fooled. And historically, women had a different kind of wisdom, but it was the wisdom to get men to do everything for them. I mean, women got men to go out in the jungle, the dangerous, the dirty, the difficult jobs. And man, we're over here like you could say we're suckers, but no,
Well,
we're happy to do the dirty, dangerous, difficult jobs. We are built for it. Our body's designed for it. We thrive when we're doing the dirty, dangerous, difficult, as long as we're paid. And part of whatever cultures are dysfunctional in the males, and 90% of the people in jail are men. Men are more dysfunctional with only when they're not educated on how to make money. If a man was getting first education and if he was paid fairly for his work, his testosterone thrive. So for me, I'm not a dysfunctional man. My wife adores me, loves me. Can't imagine any man being better than me. And how is that? Well, because I'm educated, I know, and I've been taught how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
Now, men are not taught how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
You have to realize that men grew up, if they grew up with fathers, now we got a whole bunch of boys who don't even know anything about masculinity. They didn't watch their fathers manage emotion. Managing emotion, emotional regulation means not talking when you're upset. It's a simple thing. This was common knowledge in the past. You can even see it in Clint Eastwood movies in the past. Is it men are upset, they don't talk.
Yeah.
And if you talk and this was common knowledge because you saw your father do it. Now, today we've got no fathers, or we got fathers who have been indoctrinated by the cult of psychology that says feelings solve everything.
Mm.
I'm all into feelings, but if I'm feeling negative feelings, I don't talk about it out loud. I don't express negativity to my wife. You never raise your voice to a woman. These are unthinkable things historically in functional men. And you could see this in your father. Now you have men talking about their feelings. If I'm stressed and I talk about my feelings, even complaining out loud for me will raise my stress more. This is what happens to men. Men are so stressed out. And this ADD is a symptom of their stress levels. And so it's not like he's maybe all stressed like crazy. No, he's just ADD. He could be passive. He could be procrastinating. Those are all stress states for men. Or he could be angry, and then what he needs to do is detach and walk away for a while. That's my whole book in Men Are From Mars, Cave Time. And not angry at his partner, even just upset about the day. You have stress during the day. Men need to stop talking and process internally, called mulling it over.
Yeah.
But we need to be taught how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not just stop talking.
We've got to the point where we've confused everything and we're all trying to be all things to all people and we can't, we have got it wrong. Yeah, I get that.
So if we come back to, what you do is you're helping women with their diets, okay? Which is so, so important, is to know that a big piece of regulating your diet is understanding the consequences of what you eat. But two is these cravings inside that will result inside of women when they're not making enough estrogen. And I mention, I'm on the verge right now of being able to release my app on how it's called the feeling letter process. It's how the computer will do it for you. Now, all of my books, I got all these 20 books. Every one of my books practically talks about the feeling letter exercise, which is how you can journal. And if you do it, you go from negative emotions to positive emotions without anything in your life changing. If you're dependent on expressing negativity to change somebody, the wiring in your brain changes to responding to everything in a negative way, because it's like it becomes your currency. If you use negative emotions to get what you want, as opposed to share negative emotions, not to argue, not to try to induce change. I mean, like, women are doing this all the time. They're taught in the cult of psychology, which is, if your husband ignores you, you say, I feel hurt when you ignore me. Well, what did you just do? You just knocked his testosterone down. His motivation to please you is knocked in half, and he gets defensive. And why would you feel hurt? He'll explain to you why you shouldn't feel hurt, and that will just make you feel more hurt. So using your emotions to change someone doesn't heal them, only makes it worse. Using your emotions to change your partner, even if they were like, okay, he's going to try and be this good, sensitive guy who can hear your pain. And you've got this guy who has such low self-esteem that he can hear that, okay? Because see, when men's low self-esteem really gets low, they don't defend anything. They go into a place of, yes, dear, okay, all right, I hear you. And then they become passive aggressive. Okay.
Yeah.
There's all these states of stress that vary according to how stressed and how long we've been stressed. I've mapped it all out. I can't in my books say the whole thing so clearly because we don't have research to back up to me what's just so obvious.
Yeah.
But I do have it. It's like in my book, I do the research. I have to quote 5 different studies. And now if you take all these things together with logic, you'll see it explain men's behavior. But
Yeah.
everybody knows men become passive aggressive. It's just awful. He punishes his wife by not doing things for her. That's chronic stress. And that's fake and fold. We often, the cult of psychology says that's the freeze response, but the freeze response is completely different for women as it is for men. Everything's different.
Everything's different. Yeah.
It's just like if you went to a medical doctor, you'd have to have a specialist in female body parts. You don't go to male body parts. There's realities here. And we don't distinguish that. We are distinguishing that in the medical field. But in the terms of psychology, oh, I'm a sexist. You
Mm.
can't say these things. This is horrible. It's so funny when I talked about this to the younger generation, they say, people don't get mad at you. I said, well, people have always been mad at me, but now only people I talk to seem to be the people who like my ideas. So I'm not trying to push them. I just take who comes, and
Yeah,
there's plenty who
and
come.
so from what you've said, what can we distill to improve our health, or, some people are wanting to lose weight. What one thing could we do to move ourselves from where we are now to somewhere further forward?
Well, with I don't want to sound too self-promotional, but what I've just given is this: take lithium orotate and put together a good protein shake that has the right balance of this. I have a product I recommend. If people want to go to use the products I use, you can go to marsvenus.com contact. If you go to contact, then we will contact you and share the products that John uses and people who use those. I also help recommend to people coaches who help them to, what is it, to do some cleansing. Now, if you got all that toxicity in your body, part of one of the reasons we we get fat is the body storing toxicity. So you
Yes.
do have to cleanse. And so what I'm dedicated to is helping people cleanse in a easy way. Some people just can't fast. Okay. And it's so good to take a day, sometimes take 2 days of fasting, and you can take some herbs during that time to help cleanse your body. But you can do it in easy ways. The way we recommend is you do the shake a couple times in a meal, you'll start losing weight right away.
Yeah.
Even a shake once a day, replace one meal with a shake, and you'll lose weight. You want to lose more weight faster, take 2 shakes in one meal, and then do that for 5 days. This is a program we recommend,
Yeah.
which is do that for 5 days, and then do 2 days of liquid protein. Okay, so you bone soup, basically. So you're not eating nothing, but you're eating just protein. You're not no carbohydrates at all and no fats at all. You're just letting yourself detox. When you're doing the keto with the fat with that, that's great, great program. People can do it. And when you're doing but you're not getting as much detox because you're putting in all the calories.
Yeah.
So you really want to give your body a low amount of calories, enough protein, so you can have bone soup protein along with some herbs. So we do that for a day, and then you go back to your load up on the protein. Really, we're big into doubling the amount of protein that most people eat in a day.
Yeah.
And you can do that, or at least you can increase it if your protein is pre-digested. If you have normal protein, you can't take such high amounts. It can be toxic to your kidneys. But if you have the shakes, which are high protein, along with pre-digested, you're absorbing the
Yeah.
amino acids. There's no toxic. See, protein has toxicity. 70% of it is toxic die off. Your body has to get rid of it. But when you can use it all, you're not getting any toxicity, and you can do higher doses. So when you do higher doses of protein for 5 days, it's really easy for your body to go with less food, less calories. So
Because you're nourished. Yeah.
so some, and of course, I try to make it so easy for people. Just have 2 shakes a day and a meal, you'll always start losing weight. But you got to have your stress levels down. Your body holds on to fat if you're stressed, and lithium orotate, from my opinion, is the most powerful thing along with the whey proteins. Uh, and the product we recommend has both the casein in it and the whey protein in it in a good balance.
Excellent. Yeah. I've looked into it. It's really good. Thank you, John. Is
Oh,
there
it's been
anything else you want to finish off with?
Well, I want people to know that at marsvenus.com, health is one thing I do on the side, which is why I don't have anything on my website about it. At the top of the website, if you're in America, you can order my super minerals. But if you just contact us, we then send your information to somebody who can coach you using the products that I recommend. I really think people need coaching, and they get free coaching if they use the products. You have somebody that you're doing cleansing with. Uh, I've got a coach when it comes to when I do a cleanse. Okay. When I do a cleanse, I talk to a coach, and her name's Ellen. And she also helps coach a lot of the people that I recommend to. It's just being in the presence of somebody who just did a cleanse or is doing cleanses. Back in the day when I was curing my Parkinson's, I used to do these coaches with people online. We'd all go through it at the same time. It was very exciting, and they had me going through it with all my excitement about it. You just need to have somebody who's excited about it to let that overcome your own resistance to cleansing. Cleansing is very, very important if you want to
Mm,
really lose weight.
yeah. And Ellen is lovely. I spent some time with her on Zoom.
Yeah, she's a wonderful person. She's so knowledgeable. We've been working together for over 22 years. So
Oh.
I just send people to her and she helps guide people. Since I'm just focusing mainly on relationships and my books that are coming out, they're going to be.
Well,
And I did mention the third book. I just mentioned it to you.
yep.
It's called Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus: What to Do and Not to Do When a Man Pulls Away or Disappears. Because so many dating women or wives, they feel like, my husband's just not there anymore. What's going on? And I explain the 7 ways women unknowingly push men away and how to pull them back.
Yeah.
And there's a class on that, which is at marsvenus.com. It's our most popular class people can take. It's called just simply Understanding Men at marsvenus.com. And you go to courses and it's Understanding Men.
Okay.
There's also a free course right on the homepage as well for people.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. A
John,
pleasure
thank
spending this
you.
time with you.
It's fantastic. Thank you. Well done on healing yourself because it's
Yeah.
not easy. And I think I definitely feel that the natural route is the best way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
John only had an hour for the podcast and it went on longer than the hour. So I didn't get a chance to ask him for his contact details. So his website is marsvenus.com. If you're looking for the orotates, he has a link on his website. There is also a page with all his books. If you want to connect with him on social media, then X is Mars Venus. His Facebook page is mars.venus.john.gray. And his Instagram is John Gray Mars Venus _official. All the links are in the show notes. I invited John Gray onto the podcast because I wanted to hear how he healed his early stage Parkinson's using natural approaches. And we definitely covered that. But what unfolded was so much more. John shared fascinating insights into brain health, addiction, dopamine, and the power of nutrition and lifestyle for healing. We also explored hormones, not just in terms of health, but how they shape how we experience life, relationships, and even just everyday stress. It was particularly eye-opening to hear how men and women's hormones influence how we feel, what we need, and how we respond in relationships. We often talk about men and women having different hormones, but hearing John explain how those differences impact our behavior, motivation, and emotional wiring was a real lesson in both biology and compassion. This episode is packed with gems. I hope it gave you as much insight and inspiration as it gave me. Disclaimer: the content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Our guests, whether healthcare professionals or not, are sharing their personal opinions and experiences. This does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your medications, treatment, or lifestyle, particularly if you're on medication or have concerns about your health.